Do you wonder if you're the best version of yourself? This is the question we seek to answer in this podcast. We reveal information that helps you recover your health and become resilient. Modern life makes us fragile. Our diet, lifestyle, and environment set us up for failure. We do not accept this. We seek optimization. We strive to become dynamic. Hey, what's going on? It's Dr. Chris here, and today I want to talk about gut health and sort of this negative cascade that can occur. And there's a lot of different gut pathologies, like 7 primary ones, but there's a pattern that's pretty darn common. It starts off in the stomach with acid or lack of acid. I'm sure you've heard of reflux and that a diet high in acidic foods and tomatoes and chocolate and alcohol can lead to reflux, but too little acid can also do that. And this is how it works. So if you are not producing enough stomach acid, which I'll get to in a minute, then the food in your stomach doesn't get fully digested, which basically sets you up to not absorb as much nutrients and also predisposes you to infection because that acid protects against pathogens. So undigested food goes from your stomach into your small intestine. Now, the small intestine is supposed to have some degree of bacteria, but not as much as the colon. So when you give that area, the small intestine, a meal, you get an over-colonization of the bacteria there, and that's called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And what happens next is they produce gases, just like any organism does when they eat, and that increases the abdominal pressure, the intra-abdominal pressure. In turn, that causes the LES, the lower esophageal sphincter, to inappropriately open, and then you get a regurgitation of acid into the esophagus, and then you get reflux. It doesn't matter if there's a lot of acid or a little bit of acid. Any acid doesn't belong there, and you're going to have the symptoms of reflux. B12 deficiency is a common symptom because in SIBO, that the bacteria basically gobble up the B12 instead of you do. So B12 deficiency can be a telltale sign of low stomach acid. So what causes low stomach acid? Well, so just advanced age. As we age, we stop producing as much acid. So that's one factor. Chronic PPI use, so that's omeprazole, all the antacids. These were supposed to be only designed for 2 weeks, over the counter for 2 weeks, but now you can take as much as you want. That's not good. That basically drops your acid to 0. Alcohol inhibits acid production. H. pylori infection. Now, H. pylori is an interesting one. Some degree of H. pylori can be actually potentially beneficial, and too much can lead to low stomach acid. There's something called atrophic gastritis that can reduce your stomach acid, and so can a zinc deficiency. I should mention there is something called pernicious anemia because I was talking about B12 deficiency. If you have chronic B12 deficiency, there is an autoimmune condition called pernicious anemia where the stomach lining, the cells that produce intrinsic factor, will be attacked and they don't allow you to absorb B12. So it's something very important to check out. If you suspect this is you, and some other symptoms too is frequent belching after a meal, you can just Google the baking soda test. It's kind of a quick, not a perfect test, but it's a decent test to see if you are producing enough stomach acid. And so there's kind of like a feedback loop. I don't know if it's a positive or negative feedback loop between SIBO and low stomach acid where one causes the other and can be vice versa. So it's a bit of a death spiral. But once you have SIBO, and by the way, some symptoms of SIBO are constipation or diarrhea or a mixture of both. So that really depends on the type of bacteria that are present in the intestine, which one is sort of overrepresented, and the gases they produce will dictate whether you have constipation or diarrhea. SIBO can then produce or set you up for intestinal permeability. This used to be called leaky gut. It used to be kind of laughed at, but it's a real condition. The guy who found the linkage between the cells called zonulin, he won the Nobel Peace Prize, so it's just a recognized condition now, intestinal permeability. Let me explain that a little better. So your gut, the lining of your gut, is kind of similar to your skin. It's somewhat porous. It's somewhat permeable. You want some nutrients to come through. But if the gap junctions are too big, you get food molecules passing through that, and that you don't want that. Then your immune system will recognize that there's food going into your body. Because if you think about it, your GI system is actually external to your body. I know it's kind of weird to think about, but it's like the inside of a donut or like a straw from mouth to anus. It's technically exterior to your body. So once you start getting food molecules that pass through, immune system recognizes it. That's not supposed to be there, and then it attacks. Right? And then if you have proteins that look similar to other proteins, it can attack those tissues. So in other words, there's something called cross-reactivity, which is a whole other topic. I'm not going to really get into that, but just know that this is one of the proposed and probably main mechanisms of what turns on autoimmunity. So usually throughout this whole sort of process, blood sugars go off, right? Then you start developing prediabetes. Then you start to have a thyroid dysfunction. So it's all kind of the same underlying pathology. It all starts in the gut. The good news is there's things you can do about all these things. Like, for example, if you have low stomach acid, there are digestive enzymes you can take. I used to have reflux. I took digestive enzymes for a month. I took care of it. But just know that there are ways to restore your gut function. With that in mind, we are going to be running, starting October 1st, a 5-day gut reset challenge. If you want to know more about this, just click on the link in the show notes, and it'll describe the whole thing. So basically, it's a set of supplements. Digestive enzymes are part of that, by the way, and it comes with a 5-day meal plan. I've done this on myself a couple times. It's worked out great. I've actually lost a few pounds during it. This is a great thing to do a couple times a year, maybe even more, especially if you've been traveling. Maybe you picked up a stomach bug, because parasites can be part of this whole picture, by the way. Or maybe you're about to go into holiday season and you want to trim up in anticipation of what you're about to do to your body. Or, and this is kind of a big one, if you've had a recent course of antibiotics. So antibiotics can take care of whatever condition you're trying to fend off, but it also kind of wipes out your gut flora. And then it's a bit of a crapshoot of what bacteria is sort of overdeveloped. And you might get lucky and be fine, but if you have a sort of overrepresentation of pathogenic bacteria, you're going to come up with some issues. So check out the 5-day reset. It's in the show notes. If it's successful, which I imagine will be, we'll probably run this a few times a year. That's all I have for you this week. I'll be talking to you guys soon. A ship in harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are meant to do. What does this mean? It means exposing yourself to difficult situations so you become resilient. If you need help building resilience, check out our flagship program called Physiologic Flexibility. This is a 3-month do-it-yourself program that teaches you how to maximize your homeostatic regulators, such as your pH, blood glucose, O2 and CO2 tolerance, and temperature. We give you specific action items through the program with the goal of becoming anti-fragile. If you want to become the inspiration for your friends and family, this is the program for you.